The Indiana Hoosiers may have won on the football field in week 1 against Old Dominion, but I wasn't impressed. Week 2, it's time for a bounce back.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here and making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Well, so much to get to on this Friday edition of Locked On Hoosiers. We talk about an Indiana basketball official visit coming up this weekend, one that I'm really excited about. We'll tell you who, and we'll tell you why it's important. Plus, some of the big games around the Big Ten that you should keep an eye on from the Indiana perspective. But we have another game on the field coming up tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon Eastern kick, Indiana and Kennesaw State. And I know the Hoosiers are 1-0, and not every team in college football can say that, right? SEC teams and Northwestern UCLA. But Indiana wasn't impressive in game 1, right? They beat Old Dominion 27-14, but it was one of those where the score didn't reflect how you played, but the score is what everybody sees. And I think that's a really big issue. So much so, Curt Cignetti said the exact same thing. He said, look, we dominated this game, but we need it to reflect on the scoreboard. And I absolutely agree. And while Kennesaw State, we told you earlier in the week, almost beat a P4 team in Wake Forest in week 1, a missed PAT and a missed field goal would have beaten a Wake Forest Demon Deacons team. They are 0-1, and they're not all that good. There's a reason Indiana's playing this in week 2. There's a reason this game is on your schedule. Curt Cignetti has strategically done this already because you're better than them. And I'm ready for Indiana to go out and show it. You got away with one in week 1. I'm not saying there was any threat of you losing that game. And I know you go down 7-0 early and it's like, oh, okay, first play of the game, it's a 75-yard touchdown run. Oh, maybe this isn't going to go the way we wanted it to. That thought never really crossed my mind. And I don't think it really crossed your mind either. But I don't think many of you were happy and pleased and satisfied with a 27-14 win over Old Dominion in week 1. You wanted it to look a little bit crisper, right? You wanted it to look a little bit more fluent and prettier, and let's be honest, a little bit more fun, right? Running the football was nice. Roman Hemby looked good. Caleb Black looked good. Even Lee Beebe Jr. looked good besides the fumble that he had. Fernando Mendoza looked good running the football too. But I think Hoosiers fans, if I'm speaking for you here, and as a Hoosiers fan myself, I wanted it to be a little bit more exciting, right? Blow the place up, man. Go to town. Knock this team flat out, down and out, right? Do what you're supposed to do against a team like this. I think that's where I'm coming from and why I'm calling this a bounce back game for Indiana, because you dominated Old Dominion and you should dominate Kennesaw State, even though they do have a running quarterback and have some big play potential, and defense clearly didn't play bad against Wake Forest. But you're better than this team at every position, probably even the backups too. Are probably better than their starters. You're better on the sidelines. You're better on game day. And it's another chance to have a home atmosphere at Memorial Stadium. This is a bounce back opportunity for Curt Cignetti and his staff and his team to show, hey, this team's full of dudes. We can prepare and we can execute. That's what you have to do. Stalling inside the 5 on offense against a team of these caliber, you can't do that against Old Dominion or Kennesaw State or even Indiana State next week. Because if you can't execute against those teams, you're not going to do it against Illinois. You're not going to do it against Iowa. You're not going to do it against any team in the Big Ten that's on your schedule. So that's what this week is about. Staying healthy, yes. We always talk about wanting to stay healthy, and Indiana wasn't able to do that last week against Old Dominion, but stay healthy and show what you can do. Maybe not the whole playbook and maybe not show everything that you're capable of, but just let the fans know, hey, we're all right. This team's good. We're okay. Everything is fine. And I have a weird feeling that Curt Cignetti is going to have this team ready to go. Early kickoff, Saturday morning. Not many people are going to watch Indiana and Kennesaw State, right? There's a ton of other games on that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. But I have a weird feeling that Indiana in this team, in this game, will be hyper focused. Execution will be at top tier levels. And I think Indiana dominates this game. I think you're looking at a 56 to 7 type of game here. If I'm just kind of throwing out a standard generic prediction here, I think 56 to 7 sounds about right to me, because I think the Indiana defensive front's going to get home. I think the secondary is going to continue to have a field day. 3 interceptions last week. I think they'll get one again this week. Would love to see some more special team success, right? You had that against Old Dominion. Can you repeat that against Kennesaw State? And again, they do have a running quarterback now. Dexter Williams will run the football. He did against Wake Forest and almost beat him doing so. Don't let him do it. Don't let him do that. Make him pass. Make him stress. Make him scramble. Make him make bad decisions. That's what I want to see this Indiana defense do. Offensively, I do want to see continued success running the football. No doubt about it. I do want to see Roman Hemby, Kalen Black, Lee Beebe Jr. I want to see those guys continue to get the carries and run as hard as they did in game 1, because I give them a ton of credit. They ran really, really hard against the Monarchs. I want to see that happen, yes, but I also want to see Fernando Mendoza throw the football, because let's just be real. In Big Ten games, running the ball will keep you in the game. Throwing the ball is going to win you the game. At the end of the day, that's how it's going to go. You can't pass if you can't run, but you got to be able to pass at the end of the day. And I just want to see it. I want to see Fernando Mendoza look comfortable. I want to see Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper and EJ Williams and your 2 tight ends and Holden Stays and Nowakowski. I want to see them running free on this secondary of Kennesaw State. And I'm going to see Fernando Mendoza drop back in the pocket, have full awareness, plenty of time in front of him, step up and deliver throws downfield. That's what I want to see in this bounce back opportunity for the Indiana Hoosiers, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Go out and dominate. I don't even think there's a spread on this game. Our friends at FanDuel don't even have one. Just kidding. They do now. 35.5. 35.5 is what Indiana's favored by in this game against Kennesaw State. Go cover. Go dominate. Go let your second and third string guys get in, because we know you're going to need them at some point. I want this to be clean. Jump on them in the first quarter. Don't let up. Let your secondary, or your second and third string guys rather, come in, get some playing time, and go home and enjoy the afternoon. Bounce back opportunity for Indiana football in this game against Kennesaw State. You'll have one more chance to do it against Indiana State next Friday before you welcome Illinois, who I think is a top 10 team at that time, when they come in to Memorial Stadium. All right, well, speaking of a team like Illinois, we'll take a look at around the Big Ten, some really interesting matchups in week 2 and ones that you, as an Indiana fan, need to keep an eye on. We talk about that coming up next here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down right here on today's show. For the Hoosiers, for Indiana, right, you could pick a lot of guys. You could pick a running back. You could pick Fernando Mendoza if you wanted to, but I'm going with our boy who brings back a return touchdown, okay? You could also pick Radicic, who came in and had a couple of nice kicks as well, but our guy who had a special teams touchdown, okay? I'm running with him. I'm doing it. I'm going with our guy as I try to find LeBron Bond, who ended up having a touchdown here. I'm going with him. I think he's somebody who you could really be excited about for the Indiana Hoosiers. I'm going with a kickoff return or a punt return touchdown for Indiana. Just helped you out and really brought you back into a game. You were down in early and you're able to get back in the game and eventually win this thing. And so just like Indiana, you can deliver with DoorDash. It delivers to you on Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday on your order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. Mazda offers more than just safety. It's won more 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick Awards than anyone else as of August of 2025. And as an athlete focuses on every detail, Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And look, we look around the Big Ten now because week 2 could be pretty fascinating after what I would say was a successful week 1 for the Big Ten, wouldn't you say? We talked about that with our buddy Zach Seiko earlier in the week, also on the Big Ten Squad Show a little bit yesterday as well. But overall, I think the Big Ten did pretty much exactly what it was supposed to do, other than Northwestern looking terrible against Tulane, UCLA getting blasted by Dampier and Utah. Ain't nothing you can do about that, right? But every other team won, 16 for 18. Not too bad if you're the Big Ten. But some games that you as an Indiana fan need to be looking at. You as an Indiana fan need to have your eyes on, because these teams are coming up on your schedule down the road. Don't waste your time. Don't watch Western Illinois and Northwestern on Friday night. You may not even want to watch Northern Illinois and Maryland. Could it get interesting? Sure. I probably wouldn't touch that one, though. FIU takes on Penn State. Not worried about that one. But there are 2 games at 11 a.m. And unfortunately, 11 a.m. Central, 12 o'clock Eastern. Unfortunately, the 2 games that you probably need to be watching the most are at the exact same time that Indiana plays. It's Illinois on the road at Duke, and it's Iowa on the road at Iowa State. Now, great matchup, great rivalry between Iowa and Iowa State. Number 11 Illinois on the road at Duke in the ACC in week 2 is kind of fascinating to me, because I've mentioned it several times in several different places. I think Duke is a dark horse in the ACC. Maybe not to win the conference, but could have a big say in who does. And you welcome in, after a 1-0 start for the Dukies, you bring in a near top 10 team in Illinois, who I don't think is a top 10 team yet. I don't think they're a top 15 team yet, because they have to prove it to me before you can have that crown, in my opinion. But they're a really good team. So what an opportunity for Duke to get a resume-building win, one that you can carry with you pretty much all season long, because it's top 15 no matter what happens to Illinois. The Fighting Illini need to be careful. Are they more talented than Duke? Absolutely. Do they have the better quarterback than Duke? You better believe it. But Duke will have something up their sleeve. And this isn't like going to Happy Valley, or in the ACC, you're not going to Death Valley or Tallahassee, or you're not going to NC State or anything like that. But you do still have to go on the road. And it's an 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern kick, which typically favors the road team, in my opinion. I'm telling you, Duke's going to have something up their sleeve. Our friends at FanDuel have Illinois as just 2.5-point favorites. 2.5. Something smells off here. They're begging you to take Illinois, right? Seems like they're begging you to do it. And I say you need to watch it because clearly, obviously, Indiana plays them week 4. And it's here in Bloomington. How does Illinois perform on the road? How does this team overcome any adversity that they run into in just week 2 of the season? That's why you as an Indiana fan need to be watching Illinois and Duke at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern on Saturday. The other game that I mentioned a moment ago is Iowa and Iowa State, because in week 5, you go to Iowa as your first road game of the season. You go on the road to Iowa in your 5th game of the year. Now, they're on the road against Iowa State. Another early kick, same exact time as Indiana. So you won't be able to take anything away from what Iowa, I guess, does on the road, because that doesn't do you a whole lot of good since you play them at Iowa. But what happens with this Iowa offense? Can they pass for any sort of yards? We joked on the Big Ten squad yesterday that they may not pass for over 70 yards, and their betting line's like 132 or something on FanDuel. And our boy Spencer McLaughlin said crush the under, because there's no way that that happens. Iowa State looks pretty good. And Trent Condon, the host of Locked On Hawkeyes, picked against his own team and said, nah, we ain't winning this game. But you get to scout a little bit if you're Indiana, other than, yes, they're going to run the football and they punt it really far. Do they have any sort of development, Iowa that is, have any sort of development in their passing game? Because I like Indiana secondary, and I really like the matchup against that Iowa team, but you want to see if they bring out anything that could get you in just a couple of weeks. So that's just from a scouting perspective. Illinois on the road at Duke, Iowa on the road at Iowa State. I hate that Oklahoma State and Oregon, Seiko and I talked about this the other day, I think yesterday actually. I hate that this game's not going to be what it was supposed to be. Michigan, Oklahoma, that's cool. You don't play Michigan, so it doesn't really matter for you. Middle Tennessee at Wisconsin. The Badgers should bounce back. They should be fine after barely beating Miami of Ohio. You've got USC taking Georgia Southern. They should be fine. Boston College, Michigan State could be fascinating, though. Michigan State's only a 4.5-point favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel. Keep an eye on that when you play the Sparties down the stretch. Can Purdue continue to play well after beating Ball State? I think they probably can. And UCLA very well could start the season 0-2 after they lose to Dan Mullen and UNLV here in week 2. So those are the teams on your schedule that you need to be looking out for, keeping an eye on, maybe taking some notes like I'll be, as we're going to talk about them as we get closer to each one of those games. But week 2 is sneaky good around this conference. And I think, again, my goodness, I go back and forth on whether we want Illinois to beat Duke or we want them to lose, because it shows that they're not all that we thought they were, or that some people thought they were. I think I want them to win just so they have the chance to still be a top 10 team when we play them and then get to expose them. I think that's kind of where I'm at here. Iowa, I don't really care. Some of these other teams like UCLA, I don't really care. I don't. But I think Illinois, I think we're rooting for them. Maybe not like cheering, like actively cheering, but I think for Indiana's sake, I think we want them to be as highly ranked as possible, looking as good as possible. So that way, when we beat them at Memorial Stadium, then it looks even better. And then we get to carry that above our heads the entire season, use it as a resume builder, whether Illinois ends up being good or not. So there you go. Cheer for Illinois, at least pull for Illinois this weekend. Iowa, some of these other teams, Oregon, Wisconsin, whatever. Just watch the games and take notes. But I think we need Illinois to win that game against Duke, which sets up for such a fun game in just a couple of weeks. All right, coming up here in our final segment of Locked On Hoosiers, flipping to basketball just for a moment. Because while we're going to have some fun watching football this weekend in Bloomington, also a big-time visitor on campus for basketball as well. We talk about Mr. Junior County right after this. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Upside. Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL to get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already needed. You were already going to buy it. You may as well do it through Upside. At first, I thought it was too good to be true. I'll be honest with you, but it really is legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other great brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Are you for the apologies, wrong read there. It is brought to you by FanDuel, though. And the NFL season is already here. Game 1 was last night. You got another game tonight, and then you got a bunch of games coming up on Sunday, right? FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. For me, I love sitting down on Sunday after a long week, after calling high school football on Friday, covering college on Saturday. I love to sit down in the recliner and just watch the NFL all day long. And I have my iPad. I don't know if that makes me old or something. I don't know, but I use my iPad and I'm placing bets all day long using FanDuel. Just gives it a little extra boost, makes it a little bit more interesting, especially for when my team's not playing. Okay. You can do the same thing right now. And if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And as we wrap up today's show, I know that it's football season, and I know that there's a fun game this weekend. It's an early kick, so you gotta get up early and start tailgating early. I know some of you just hate to do that, to crack a cold one, right, at 6 or 6:30 in the morning. Maybe do it when the sun's rising. I know you hate to do that, but there is a big official visitor on campus this weekend, and it's for Indiana basketball. And his name is Junior County. He's somebody that we've talked about. He's somebody that we've previewed, the 4-star shooting guard from out west. He's the #1 ranked player in the state of Utah. He's the 2nd ranked shooting guard in all of the 2026 class. 247 has him ranked as the 28th overall player. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. And it's one that I think Indiana has a really, really good shot for. You're in the mix with UConn, Maryland, Arizona, and Purdue. That's UConn, Maryland, Arizona, and Purdue. And my message the other day on the channel was that Junior County, when you turn on the film and you put it on, just go watch it for just a few minutes, you're going to see so many similarities to what Indiana will do on the floor this year. Lamar Wilkerson and this kid are almost identical. They run with the basketball. They run without the basketball. They find the open spot on the floor, and there's no hesitation to shoot the rock. I think there could be some issues with Lamar Wilkerson doing that this year for Indiana basketball. More on that at a later date. Junior County, though, man, when he shoots it, it is pure, and it goes in more times than not. And not that you see a bunch of this on film, but his shot selection is smart. He doesn't take bad contested shots. Now, he's 6'4", 180, so he can shoot over a bunch of people, but he's always willing to make the extra pass. He's always willing to make the extra play. If it's a catch and shoot, hard closeout, cool. He's gone. He'll turn the corner, get downhill, get to the rack, pass it out, do whatever. He's not afraid to do that, but he's not afraid to run and make plays outside without the basketball either. And I really do think it makes sense to have him a part of the Darren DeVries system. And I hope that's the selling point this weekend. And I told you, over these next several weeks, with all these different official visitors coming in, you had one last week, you've got one this week, you've got 2 coming in next weekend, you're going to get some of these. And if you can make this happen with Junior County before he even leaves campus, he says, you know what? This is the place I want to be. I want to be an Indiana Hoosier. I want to help this program get back. I want to do it here. That would send such a shockwave through college basketball. Are you kidding me? UConn and Purdue had to see a graphic pop up or see a a tweet or a post or something from 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 social media about him committing to the Hoosiers, like, man, that would be incredible. Now, it's probably not going to happen this weekend. Very well could. I don't see that happening, but could you imagine just landing a kid like this would be the first real statement for Darren DeVries and this staff to say, hey, we're back and you better start worrying. You better fear. We were gone for a while and you took advantage, but we're going to get a kid, we're going to get a dude, and we're going to get him to play at Indiana. A kid from out west of all places in Utah, but one of the best players in the class. One that I don't think gets talked about enough either, Junior County. One that I think is uber talented as well. So he's on campus this weekend. You've got the home football game. You got a ton of people around. Heard great things about Talon Kinney and his official visit last weekend to Indiana. Still an uphill battle for him with Louisville and Kansas, but I think Indiana put on a good show, right? Showed him a good time. You have a chance to do that once more with Junior County. And I think if you are able to pull this off, this is that domino effect I've talked about. You get one, you're going to get more. And it very well could start with a guy like Junior County. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Hey, reminder, right after the game tomorrow, Indiana versus Kennesaw State, we're going live on the Locked On Hoosiers YouTube channel. We're going to talk about it, get immediate reactions, get your immediate thoughts as well. So be sure you set your notifications, subscribe to the channel, do whatever you got to do so you don't miss us going live, you don't miss a new episode, and all that good stuff. Okay, subscribe on your audio platforms as well. However you need to find us and never miss an episode, do that right now. Okay. Have a fantastic weekend. We will talk to you on the live show tomorrow, right after Indiana and Kennesaw State. And until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.